Yeah, if I ever have to flake, it'll be for something that's not in my control, like something I couldn't have planned for ahead of time, and I'll always let you know.
Well, we're ready to
Noble
rock.
calls.
I believe we just went live. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Couple of heartbreaks yesterday. I mean, the Phillies blown lead. All right, whatever. Clase blowing the save to the Yankees lineup that aren't hitting anybody. A little heartbreaking. And then the Twins tied 4-4 with the bases loaded and no outs. Score 0 runs. Hurts the soul. Kamish, how your bets been this week?
They were nice up until yesterday, man. Stroman got his 5th K on a check swing on the last batter he saw, and then Kyle Wright left the game with an injury. It just felt like bad beats a lot of different ways.
Oh, you had Stroman's under?
Yeah, I had his under.
I had Stroman under in a parlay, and it sucked because I parlayed it with Greinke under 3.5 earned runs because they moved the line. I liked it at 2.5, and he blanked them, so that really sucked.
All right, looks like we're all on the same page then. Yesterday was rough. Let's turn it around. It's Thursday, so obviously getaway day, lighter MLB day. First game up is Cubs Nationals, and you can see I don't have the lines up. It's because when we made the graphics last night, they weren't open. Obviously, they are open now. This is crazy, but I'm going back to Washington here. I've been backing Washington. I think I backed them in almost every game this series, or maybe 2 of the games. Washington first 5 plus a half run at plus 105. It's crazy to think that the Cubs are going to be held to 1 run or less in 3 straight games. I almost wish that wasn't the case. Obviously, everyone's betting the Cubs after back-to-back losses. So to me, the question is, there's no question that the Cubs' bats have cooled off. Like I said, held to 1 run in back-to-back games. The Cubs are down to 21st in the last 7 days against right-handed pitching. But that's the main question. Do you think the Cubs' bats have cooled off? Or do you think they've only cooled off against right-handed pitching? Because in the last 7 days, they're still 3rd against lefties, but that's only 82 plate appearances. Not exactly a huge sample size there. So I personally just think the Cubs' bats have cooled. They've come back down to earth a little bit. I know Patrick Corbin, Washington first 5 with Patrick Corbin seems crazy. But I don't think the Cubs are hitting right now, so I'm trying to take advantage of that with this crazy price. The reason I'm not going to touch the full game is the Nats are without their 3 main guys in the bullpen. Edwards Jr., Hunter Harvey, and Kyle Finnegan all pitched back-to-back days, so neither will be available. I'll stick to the first 5. This didn't even make the ticket. Not one of our favorite bets of the day. But I think I actually will put a few dollars on this personally. So.
Not very interested in this game. Tyone, of course, returning from injury. He looked pretty rough his first 2 starts of the season, and then was able to put together a really nice effort against the Dodgers. So I'm just having a hard time reading Tyone right now. On top of that, Corbin's bad, but he's been better this year at the very least. And the Cubs bats have been really, really underwhelming lately. This is ultimately a pass for me. Not seeing much value on either side.
To answer a couple questions. So our new homie, someone asks who's our new homie. That's Kamish. He was here last week for a day. We're trying to get him on once a week, and I think we can commit to that. We'll have him on once a week. He does a lot of work with Roto Grinders and a few different companies. You should follow him on Twitter. He puts out good stuff.
Yes, sir.
What about this game, Kamish?
Man, it seems almost too easy to take the Cubs in this spot. I think you got to take the run line to make it worth your while here. You mentioned the bullpen situation for the Nationals. I mean, the Nationals bullpen is underwhelming in many respects, but especially when you don't have Harvey and Edwards and Finnegan, like you mentioned. The Cubs, their bullpen is relatively free of taxation. You see, like, no one's pitched in back-to-back days. They've gotten some good depth. Stroman got deep into the game yesterday, even though they lost. You mentioned Corbin's been better, but I mean, he's still, 5.74 ERA, 6.92 xERA. The FIP is still very bad. And you mentioned the Cubs splits against left and right-handed pitching. For me, it's one of those things where you almost just have to roll with this. The Cubs this season against left-handed pitching, they're 3rd in OPS, 3rd in ISO. The Nationals against right-handed pitching have been bottom of the barrel in pretty much every conceivable way. Bottom 3 in OPS. ISO, they're dead last this season against right-handed pitching. So not a Taillon fan, I agree with you, but when you're looking at relative differences here, who's got the better offense? The Cubs. Who's got the better starting pitching? The Cubs. Who's got the better bullpen, the more rested bullpen? The Cubs. Typically, when you have all three of those things going in one direction, it's a spot where I think the run line has a little bit of value.
Cubs run line. What are the odds of the Cubs run line right now?
I could pull it up. It is.
Yeah, I could try and check.
The run line is -114 at FanDuel.
Good. Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily that I think Corbin's been better. Yeah. So, next game. You know what it was? Is there was a stretch last year where obviously everyone's been fading Corbin for a couple years now, but there was a stretch where Patrick Corbin at home was cashing bets, and maybe it was only like a 6-week stretch, but I wrote it. And so when Patrick Corbin pitches at home, there's always a spot in my brain that thinks I am seeing value that other people aren't seeing. But it's yet to really come to fruition this season yet. Hopefully it comes around the corner soon.
Like one other note on Corbin, like if you don't want to ride with everyone and their mother today on the Cubs, Corbin in the first 3 innings, I played a couple of unders last season with Corbin being involved, because as bad as he is somewhat respectable the first time through the order. Last year, 393 FIP the first time through the order, K percentage north of 20. This year, FIP 308 the first time through the order, goes way down after that. He still allows a lot of hard contact, a lot of base runners, but he seems to do a little bit better job of getting a swing and a miss and getting out of a jam, at least that first time through the order. So I'm not advising anyone to do that, but if you're not on board with me or you're not on board with everyone on the Cubs today, I think the first 3 is the spot that makes the most sense if you want to go Nationals or you want to go in under, if you don't think the Cubs are going to get anything going with the bats.
I just checked it. The first 3 unders at 2.5 at an even -110 on DraftKings. Not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's 55 degrees, it looks like, at first pitch, so it's not like you have the best hitting weather in the world.
All right, let's move on to this Mets game. You guys already know my thoughts because I put it on YouTube last night. It's kind of hard not to like Eduardo Rodriguez against this Mets lineup. This dude actually doesn't even seem like it matters who he pitches against. He's shutting down everybody, including Baltimore twice. I said that this is just a lean. I don't think there's a ton of value on this because it's at -120 is the best price I could find. Also, there's a question mark in the form of Justin Verlander. Isn't pitched since the World Series. So we're not even getting the normal 4.5. It's down at 4, and we're paying juice for it. But Eduardo Rodriguez, in case you didn't watch my YouTube video last night, his numbers over his last 4 starts are just they're silly. 26 2/3 innings, 2 combined earned runs. He's pitching as good as well as anybody in baseball right now, and the Mets don't particularly hit lefties well. So I like the spot for Eduardo Rodriguez, and then Justin Verlander. I mean, we're talking about a righty against the Tigers. You can't really go wrong there. It's just a matter of like how much do you trust him right now. So this is just a lean. Don't bet your mortgage on this one. Don't bet your mortgage on anything. But you get what I'm saying here.
Yeah, for this one, this is tough. I mean, if I had a lean, I'd probably take the Tigers +1.5, just due to the fact that the Mets have now played 2 doubleheaders in the last 3 days. On top of that, they saw some pretty decent bullpen usage yesterday. And while the Tigers also saw some bullpen usage, they didn't go through 2 doubleheaders in a row. So I think they're going to be the more rested group. The issue with that is that the Tigers against a righty is painful to watch. Don't know if I could truly get there, but it's hard not to like Erod here. The only reason I'm not going Mets first 5 team total under is because that 2.5 -145. If I could have got like 1.5 at like +115 or something like that, I would have taken a stab with it. But ultimately, I think I'm just going to stay away here. I like some other plays on the board.
Yep. Mish?
Yeah, I don't think it makes much sense to invest here unless you are very high on the Tigers. I mean, people don't realize, but doubleheaders are very, very tough for major league teams. I know there's all this talk about like, oh, you just got to toughen up, you got to be men, you got to be professionals, we're giving you all this money, but the Guardians are still reeling from the effects of having to play a couple doubleheaders in a span of a week, not too long ago, and you can see that they're still struggling. The Mets having to play 2 doubleheaders in a span of just a handful of days, very, very tough. It's even if you have the pitching available out of the bullpen. One, the Mets have a lot of guys on the IL in the bullpen right now. Ottavino has not looked good. You have was it Rayleigh's on the IL right now? Like some of their better guys are not available. Verlander made 1 rehab start at AA, 4 2/3, no earned, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So he looked pretty sharp, but that was against AA hitters. And the Tigers, even though they're not great against right-handed pitching, there's still 9 major league hitters that are in the lineup. And I think the Mets have just I'm very high on the Mets long term for the season, but they got to get healthy. Scherzer just came back from an injury. Verlander hasn't pitched yet this season. They got Rayleigh on the IL. That they lost Diaz, who's obviously going to be out for probably the whole season. But they got to get some of these guys back and into the swing of things before I'm looking at them just like the normal Mets. And Eddie Rodriguez, I'm super high on this guy too. Like I think last year everybody felt compelled to hate the guy because he disappeared from the Tigers for a while without really telling anybody what was going on. But since 2018, he's got a 3.99 ERA and a 3.75 FIP. His xERA is even better in that span. It would be his ERA would be a lot better if he didn't have the Red Sox infield defense behind him for 3 or 4 years over at Fenway. So I think the guy's got good stuff. I see no reason to think that that's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, and 18 innings of Major League Baseball. I mean, I was in a slow pitch softball league for a few years, and those games are 7 innings. And when we went to the extras to the 8th, I was like, guys, I'm done. Like, I have no gas left in the tank. I can't go back out in left field. So I feel they're paid.
I just want to respond to a comment real quick. John Modica, we're gonna message you right after this. Right after this, we're gonna hit you up. We'll get on a talk.
Oh, yeah, okay. So he asked a question before. The app, the Sauce Network app, and KyleKirms.com, it's the same information. The only actual difference is with the app, you get a push notification to the phone when we post bets. If you just use the website, you'll get an email. But a lot of times those emails go to spam because people are like, oh, I don't do tennis, I don't just do soccer. So you ignore those emails, and then that your Gmail's algorithm then tells. It's like, okay, so you this is spam. So that's why we use the app is for push notifications. But yeah, we'll answer after. Sorry about that.
On to the next one.
Pirates at Rays. I actually ended up. So last night, me and Prop Beaver were like, nah, we're not. Skip this for now. But actually this morning, taking a look, I actually like my angle. Prop Beaver didn't like it, so it's not on the ticket. But I like the first 5 over here. Let's see exactly. So it was at 4.5 and an even -110. What I have written down in my notes is back to reality day. Vince Velasquez, ready for his starts this year? The Nationals, the Reds twice, the Rockies, the Cardinals, the White Sox. Those are his 6 starts. Zach Eflin starts this year. The White Sox twice, the A's, the Tigers. Neither of these pitchers have thrown against a lineup in the top 16. So back to reality day. Both of them now. I know the Pirates lineup hasn't been quite as explosive as it was a week and a half ago. But still, it's better than all those teams I just named, or at least we believe it is. So first, to get this number at 4.5 with 2 starting pitchers, I don't really believe in. I know Beaver likes Eflin. I don't. I've been fading him since his Philly days. So yeah, to get this at 4.5, I think either team is capable of covering this over 4.5 on their own. So the fact that I like my odds that collectively it hits.
Yeah, I like the Rays double result here, simply put. I mean, I feel these teams are very similar, but the Rays are just doing it better right now.
What's the odds on that?
And that's -110. I like the first 5 run line. I had that at -120 earlier, but that moved to -140. So I think this is the next best angle. Really, the reason I like this is because, as Kyle was saying, I think Velasquez is due to get rocked. I mean, Nats 29th in WRC plus against righties. Reds are 26th in WRC plus against righties on the road. The Tampa Bay Rays are first in WRC plus on the season and 4th over the last 2 weeks against righties. They continue to smash through 29 ABs against Velasquez. They own a 101 OPS, 345 OBA, and are averaging an RBI every 5 at bats. So I think this is a perfect spot for some regression from him. On the other side, Eflin, the guy the Rays invested the most amount of money they have ever invested into a pitcher. There's a reason they did. So the results have been pretty great thus far, despite facing some weak competition. But now he's back at home, and that's where I like to back the guy. Going back to 2022, he's been an absolute stud at home. And what makes this more enticing to me is the fact that Eflin has some fantastic numbers against lefties right now. 233 WOBA, 0.7 WHIP. And the Pirates start 5-6 lefties on a daily basis, adding a considerable bullpen edge for Tampa. And I just think the Rays continue to roll here. I don't think there's any reason to hop off the Rays bandwagon. I think if you smashed Mitch Keller and Roansy Contreras, you're going to rock Vince Velasquez into another planet. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I can see that, and I agree with you. I just am betting it differently, but I agree with that. Kamish, you have a play on this game?
I'm huge on Zach Eflin. I think he's got to be healthy. That's the one thing that has continued to derail this guy's career is his health. I think the talent's always been there. He just hasn't been on the field for long enough. And honestly, when he was with the Phillies, for a while, the Phillies were very against analytics. They didn't use analytics. Under Dombrowski, they started to use them a little bit more in Eflin's last couple years, and you saw some pretty good results. Coming to Tampa Bay, I agree with you. Prop Beaver, Tampa Bay doesn't throw money at anyone, and it's especially noteworthy when they throw it at a guy like Zach Eflin. I think he's got the stuff. You can see some changes to his pitch shape and his usage, which, again, competition is a main caveat to that. But the returns have been pretty good, even though he's already been on the IL once this year. I think it's a good spot for him. Again, I like the Pirates a lot too, but I think he's very solid. It's probably a pass from me though, just because I'm so emotionally biased against Vince Velasquez. I just think he's terrible. But his slider's been pretty good this year. He's throwing it way more than he ever has before. He's pretty much just become a fastball slider guy. And he has a 156 opponent batting average and a 240 opponent or 219 opponent slugging percentage against the slider this year. And he's throwing it half of the time. So day baseball, things can be a little bit wonky. I would like to think that the Rays, number one in OPS, number one in ISO against right-handed pitching, figure that out today. But I don't know. Maybe it's the PTSD from yesterday. I feel like it's a spot I just shouldn't throw money at.
One thing I will say about the slider specifically, because I was looking at this with Roansy Contreras, he also has heavy usage with the slider, and the Rays are just cranking sliders right now. I mean, my Christ, I think they're top 3 in WOBA, ISO, and slug against right-handed pitching sliders. So, I mean, maybe they finally get to that slider.
I don't know what the final numbers were yesterday, but we watched that game, and I don't know how many earned runs they actually gave Mitch Keller, but whatever it was, it should have been less. The Pirates made, I'm just not sure which was scored as an error, but we watched that game, and there was 3 back-to-back plays, 3 consecutive at-bats where the Pirates defense did something idiotic. So I don't think Mitch Keller's numbers were as bad, or I don't think Mitch Keller's performance were as bad as his numbers indicate. It's funny.
He said on the Mitch Keller train all the way.
Yeah.
It's funny. He said, I'm emotionally biased against Vince Velasquez. That was funny.
I can recognize when I have too much anger against someone to make an objective bet, and I usually just stay away.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good quality when you can notice that. Most people can't.
But probably talked me into it in 2 seconds because he's like, Rays are killing sliders, and I'm like, all right, Vince Velasquez sucks.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
Sold.
Exactly.
So last night I said first 5 under, or I'm sorry, not first 5. Yeah, no. Yeah, first 5 under. I'm sorry. I got my games mixed up here. So last night I said first 5 under, and I still like the first 5 under, but I actually like 2 bets in this game. I think the St. Louis price I think they're expensive for a reason. Like I said last night, I think Jack Flaherty is super undervalued. His starts this year, Toronto, at Milwaukee, at Colorado. Home against Arizona is probably his easiest spot. Then at Seattle, at LA to play the Dodgers. I mean, that's a very tough 6-game stretch for a right-handed starter. And dude still has an ERA sub 4. And then Griffin Canning's 3 starts. Home against Washington, home against Oakland, and at Yankees, who haven't been hitting anybody. I think if you just glance at this, you're like, why are the Cardinals so heavily favored? And you look at the pictures, you're like, is Flaherty that much better than Canning? I think the price is going to deceive people and make people think, oh, the Angels is the play. But I think the price is the price for a reason, because I think Flaherty is noticeably better than Griffin Canning. I shouldn't say noticeably better, is better than Griffin Canning. So I'm going to play that. St. Louis first 5 on the run line at plus 100.
Yeah, I agree with the St. Louis first 5 run line. I just think that the Cardinals are due. We've been seeing them hit righties a bit better the last 2 times they faced them. I'm not expecting an explosion here, but I think they could get 2 or 3 runs off of Griffin Canning. And then my main bet that I already posted on Twitter, put it for a full unit. I love this. It's Jack Flaherty day, and the man is on a revenge tour. Love the buy low spot, under 2.5 earned runs, minus 125. And here's the reason why. He's allowed 3+ earned runs in 3 straight starts, now faces a potent Angels lineup. So why is it juiced to the under? Well, I think it's the perfect spot for the guy to shine. What has Flaherty's main struggle been this season? Left-handed batters. Well, good news for him, because the Angels start 7 right-handed batters on a daily basis. And Flaherty's 249 WOBA, 0.5 home run per 9, and 167 BABIP against righties is flat out insane. His only weakness when it comes to facing right-handed batters is his walk rate, but a lot of that is inflated from his first 2 starts where he had 6 and 7 walks. Over his last 4 starts, he's posting a godly 26.2 K to BB percentage against right-handed batters. So he's dealing right now, despite what those earned runs are showing. Flaherty also has a lot more success limiting runners during the day, posting a nice 2.45 ERA through 6 day starts going back to 2022. The Angels offense may be rolling a bit against righties, but I mean, who the hell have they faced lately? Miles Mikolas, Colin Rea, Corbin Burns, Luis Medina, Mason Miller, Jordan Lyles, Zach Greinke, Taylor Clark, Clark Schmidt. I respect probably 1 or 2 guys on that list, maybe. Corbin Burns, of course. And he held them to 1 run. So the Cardinals have now lost 5 straight, their last 8 and 9. And if Flaherty is the ace that I think he could be, and the Cardinals think he could be, then I think he shows out today. Flaherty's 5-2 to the under at home going back to 2022. Book it.
You said this is Jack Flaherty's revenge tour.
Dude, I used to be a Jack Flaherty hater. Now I'm a lover. Prove me right today, Jack.
Kamish, are you a Jack Flaherty lover?
Absolutely not. This guy owns more real estate in the middle third of the plate than any pitcher in Major League Baseball. I'm just not a fan of him. Like, I've always thought he had relatively good stuff, but his pitch sequencing is poor. Like, I just don't think he's got a very high baseball IQ on the mound. I think losing a guy like Yadi Molina behind the plate doesn't help that at all. That being said, you're spot on with the splits against righties. And I mean, the hard contact is way better for left-handed bats than it is for righties. There's not an official lineup out for the Angels yet today, but you look at what they threw out yesterday against Mikolas, and Ohtani was the only lefty. So, like with Flaherty, I mean, I can hate the guy as much as I want, but his primary weakness, like you said, is definitely against lefties. The walks are concerning even against righties, but it's not like the Angels walk at a ridiculous rate. They're about league average. So I don't think it's a spot where the Angels walk themselves into scoring position or get like the Blue Jays. I think walked the bases loaded twice against Flaherty. They just couldn't get a hit. But I think Flaherty could have some success today. There's no chance in hell I'm taking the Cardinals to win any baseball game, but I do think the under is a decent spot. I think Canning can do enough to keep this game relatively low scoring, and I think Flaherty against righties, it makes enough sense to where you see the total at 9, and you're just asking for 1 run or less per inning, and you got that push potential on 9. And if the Cardinals do win, then you're getting 1 less at bat from the home team. I think the under is a decent look here.
Yeah, so I
can get down with that.
We're all kind of somewhat on the same page, sorta.
Not emotionally, but like bet wise, I feel like they're all correlated.
He said, "I used to be a Jack Flaherty hater. Now I'm a lover."
I don't know. Something made me buy in. Something snapped.
Twins, White Sox. Oh, you guys are gonna hate my bet for this. It's such a cop-out bet. So I am gonna take Minnesota to win, but don't like the price. It's a Minnesota money line. I'm parlaying it. I just slapped a little over 4.5 on to get it to plus 105 because the Minnesota money line price is like minus 130. Ooh, Twins facing a sweep. I know that some of the splits point towards Giolito's direction. I actually didn't even write them down because I didn't find them significant. I think it was his numbers against Minnesota are solid, I'm pretty sure. And then also I think he's been better at home, but I don't trust this dude at all. I don't trust Pablo Lopez either, though. The White Sox bullpen outpitched Minnesota's bullpen. It was 4-4, went to the bullpen last night, and the Chicago White Sox bullpen got the W. I just, no way that happens again. I think this is one of the worst bullpens in baseball. Well, right now because of the injuries especially. So, yeah, I think the Twins to avoid the sweep, and it's the over 4.5 because I don't trust either starting pitcher.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a lean here, I would have to go with the first 5 for the White Sox. I mean, they were just so bad to the point where you knew there had to be some positive regression coming, and it's come over the last 2 games. I don't know whether it's in the form of luck or actual production, but I mean, the Twins last night, I mean, they have bases loaded, and they can't get a run out of it with 0 outs. It's just like, this team, I don't know if I'm emotionally scarred from last night or if I genuinely believe that Giolito has some fantastic numbers against the Twins, consistently allows less than 2 runs against them. And it's a decent spot with Pablo Lopez just getting shelled by the Nationals and Royals. I don't know. So I wouldn't actually place a bet on it, but if I had to lean, I'd probably go with the White Sox first 5. Probably too much emotions flaring for me there with how the Twins did me dirty last night.
Commish, I'm curious, who do you trust more, Pablo Lopez or Mr. Giolito?
I trust Pablo way more than Giolito, but it has more to do with not trusting Giolito than it does trusting Pablo. The Twins did put their lineup out for today. One concern I always have with the Twins is they seem to just completely punt day games on a regular basis.
You're
last
right.
week we were on here.
You mentioned this last time.
And it worked, yeah, because they got beat like 12-3 by the Yankees the last time he said that.
Yeah, and my dumbass played the under. I was like, I don't think the Twins win, but I think the Yankees, if they're gonna win, they're not scoring, so they're gonna win a low scoring game. And of course, they like you said, it was like an 18-run game or something. But they have 6 righties in the lineup today. Kepler, Polanco, and Gallo are the only lefties. Giolito last year struggled a lot against righties, didn't miss nearly as many bats, gave up way more home runs. His whip was 165 against righties, 117 against lefties. FIP was obviously way worse against righties than it was against lefties as well. We've seen that translate to this season as well with 145 whip against righties, 0.85 against lefties, K rate way lower against righties as well. So, I mean, what you take away from that is that the Giolito is just not at his best when teams are stacking righties against him. So I think it's pretty good lineup construction from the Twins in this spot. I was on the Twins 2 days ago, and I felt that same frustration, and I couldn't do it yesterday. So today I feel like it's my buyback into them. Like I think the White Sox are a bad team. I think you're right. They're not bottom of the barrel bad, but they're definitely not a playoff team in my mind. I think Pablo Lopez is the best starter that the Twins have. The peripherals all look pretty good. He's commands the strike zone pretty well. Lots of swings and misses, 6+ in every start that he's had so far, 7+ in 5 of the 6 that he's had. So if he does find himself into some jams, he has the ability to get out of those jams thanks to himself and not having to rely on the defense. So I think, like, as of right now, I'm probably going to end up on the Twins right here. I'm waiting on a White Sox lineup before I confirm that, but the Twins are much better than the White Sox. That's another situation where it's like, who has the better offense? The Twins. Who has the better starting pitcher? The Twins. Whose bullpen is in better shape after the last couple of days? The Twins. So
let's do it.
That's my thoughts.
Let's Twins up. All right. Baltimore KC. I don't really love the way I went in this one because it's kind of crazy taking your first 5 under with these two on the mound, but so I think Jordan Lyles is a little undervalued. I know I know some people are disagree, but his last home start was actually good. I know he gave up 4 runs, 3 of them earned, but he pitched 8 innings, and it was against the Rangers. I think Baltimore's lineup is finally on the way down. Maybe not so against lefties, but definitely against righties. And then Grayson Rodriguez, I just think is the ultimate sell high spot right now, coming off back-to-back great starts. But yeah, they were both against the Detroit Tigers. So, the reason I know that kind of goes against my bet, a first 5 under, but I would go first 5 under or Royals first 5. But the thing is, I just can't trust those Royals bats at all. So first 5 under, I don't love it, but that's the way. This is probably more of like a pass for me, but I'm just putting up with a slight lean that I have.
I got to order myself a Royals dunce cap. Royals up, baby. Royals money line at plus 155. And I also like Jordan Lyles under 2.5 earned runs. This is going to sound crazy. Maybe you should hold your ears, Kamish, because this is going to be ugly. But I can't pass up the value here with everybody and their mother on Baltimore here. Grayson Rodriguez has his K line at 5.5, a number he smashed 4 straight times, and they're posting it at minus 110, plus 110 on BetMGM. I mean, what? I mean, the total in this game is at 9.5, and I get it with Lyle's recent numbers, but I don't think that's the only reason why. I think Rodriguez has struggled more against lefties and right-handed batters thus far, and before facing the lowly Tigers, he managed to get hit up by a dead White Sox lineup and a dead Athletics lineup. Don't look now, but the Royals are 12th in OPS against righties over the last 7 days. And on top of that, if we look at them against bullpens from the 6th to 9th innings over the last 2 weeks, they're 4th in WRC+. So they're hitting bullpens extremely well. On the other side is Lyles. And listen, I don't think the guy is great, but as Kyle said, I do think he's a bit undervalued due to just a brutal set of competition through his first 6 starts. I mean, his opponents, the Twins twice, who have been a top 10 team against righties, the Angels at LA, who are much better at home, the Rangers twice, who have been top 5 against righties all season, and the Blue Jays. But let's look at some numbers here, because Lyle's best spot is at home against lefties, where he's posting a 196 WOBA, a 138 BABIP, and a 0.67 WHIP. 5 left-handed batters are in the Orioles lineup daily, and 4 of them are 4 of the first 5 guys in the lineup. Orioles are 25th in WRC plus against right-handed pitching through the first 5 of the last 5 weeks. And the Royals bullpen is actually starting to round into form, posting some top 10 numbers over the last week and top 15 numbers over the last 2 weeks. I know they got some decent usage yesterday, but Barlow still didn't go. Chapman only saw 6 pitches. I think there's more of a coin flip than people think. I got to ride with it. Also, one last thing I want to say. So the Orioles against right-handed pitching, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The last 6 of 7 righties to face the Orioles have gone under this total, and none of them are very good.
Look, I'm not the guy to do it today. The reason that everybody is gonna have to sweat this Grayson Rodriguez bet, you mentioned the splits, the data, but you also have Rob Drake calling balls and strikes in this one, and he's not gonna give you any extra strikeouts. And Grayson Rodriguez, I like the guy. I think he's got phenomenal stuff. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that he's not gonna be an all-star, maybe a Cy Young winner down the road, but it's not a great spot today. The Orioles, you mentioned, they usually have 5 righties in the lineup. They got 6 lefties in the lineup today. So I don't know. I think at the price, like, this is more of a spot. Like, I'm not big on this where, I'm like, oh, there's value, so I got to bet this. Like, if you think a team's going to win, you should bet them regardless. And that's just my philosophy. But in this spot, Lyles, I think, like, first time through the order, his, like, okay-ish. Like, do I want to trust Lyles first time through the order? Absolutely not. But, like, if you're going to, if there's underdog value here, it's in that spot. And you go look at Grayson. He's struggled to settle in early in games. And I don't know if that's, like, young and nerves or what it is, but he's been a totally different pitcher the second time through the order as he gets deep into games. And I mean, you get a 556 FIP, a 170 WHIP. He's got a walk percentage of 13.3%. Opponent batting average is worse the first time through the order, and he gets better throughout the game. So it's like, to me, that signals a high IQ pitcher of, like, he knows how to get guys out the second time through. I don't know if that's going to persist forever. The stuff is too good, I think, for that. But if it's an emotional thing, if it's whatever's causing that, it's very real, and you're going to have to pay minus 180-ish in the first 3 innings, depending on what book you're looking at. And you have a guy who's, like, actually just way worse than league average early in games. And then you have Lyles, who is, like, roughly league average. And then you mentioned the bats. The Royals bats are freaking terrible, but it's not like the Orioles have been mashing right-handed pitching. They're about league average in OPS and ISO against right-handers this year. Just pulling up first month of the season, they're 14th in OPS, 16th in ISO. So, like, that's just not enough for me to pay minus 190 on anyone. And again, the umpire concerns here. Like, Lyles is always the guy that's going to have to pitch to contact and pray to God that his defense behind him makes some plays. Grayson's a guy who likes to get some swings and misses. He's gotten himself into a lot of jams this year, in the Tigers specifically the last couple times out, where he's been able to get some swings and misses to get his way out of that. I just don't know. I don't know if that's the recipe for today. I think the Royals have legitimate value as an underdog, and probably like now you're
ride with me. Ride with me.
My feeling. Like, I feel like I'm going to end up on the first 3 here.
Royals first 3. All right, let me see what the odds are on that.
It is. Let me pull it up. It's right here. It is plus 140 at Caesars, plus 130 at MGM.
Plus 140 is not bad.
Yeah, and you got the push potential too. Like if by some miraculous stretch there's a 0-0 game or 1-1 game or something like that, you get out of there and you don't have to sweat bad bullpens and terrible offenses. You just get out of there with your money back.
The comments were definitely looking for you to come in and tell us there's no way the Royals win, and you came in and dropped a lean on another Royals bet.
They're gonna hate me. I mean, you guys are gonna start getting a bunch of hate mail when I'm on the show.
Nah, they like you. The last time you were on, for the next few days, where the hell's the commish? I'm like, listen, guys, it's coming back. All right, well, wait a second. I don't want to seem too desperate. I got to reach out in 4 days.
Yeah, there was definitely positive feedback last time, but having co-signed our Royals bets might not be the same this time around. All right, Brewers at Rockies, no chance in hell. I'm not even going to speak on this stupid crap. There's low-scoring games in Coors Field now. No, nah. I don't know.
I made a pledge when I found out that Connor Seabold signed with the Rockies. I pledged to fade the life out of him when he made his first start at Coors, and we're here. What a day! What a day to be alive. Through 5 starts in 2022, Seabold allowed 4+ runs through 5 of them, averaging 4.8, posting an abysmal 11.289 ERA, 6.39 FIP, 2.5 home run per 9, 2.4 WHIP. I'm not even gonna keep reading this guy's numbers. They just
so wait, you like Milwaukee on the run line?
There's a literal
Brewers on the run line.
I like the Brewers first five team total over 3.5 plus 100.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and listen, the guy was a literal pitching machine. He hasn't been much better this year out of the pen, and being a starter, we all know, is a much tougher position to be in. Now he has to face a Brewers lineup that, while sucking lately, they're sucking against mainly left-handed pitching and bullpens. Against right-handed pitching through the first 5, they're 4th in WRC plus over the last 2 weeks. I mean, they just lit up Lorenzen. After managing 3 total runs through the first 2 games of the series at Coors, I mean, I think this offense is due for runs. If they're not, I mean, damn. They're dead. If you can't get 4 off Seabold, then we have to arrange a funeral for this freaking Brewers lineup. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, you sold me. I'm gonna tell you. What was the final score? We turned the Rockies off after the first 5 because we won our bet. What was the final score of that game?
Rockies 7-1.
It got ugly at the end.
So Brewers have been held to 4 runs in 2 games at Coors Field.
3 runs.
I could definitely. I mean, I'm tailing. I'm tailing. Commish, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Brewers lean. It's a lean, but I think Brewers -1.5 here. Totally different team against right-handed pitching than against left-handed pitching. They're far more talented. It's not like the Rockies are, this like juggernaut of an offense. They put up 7 runs yesterday, but like there's not a ton of talent in this lineup. You look at like on the season so far against lefties, they have 310 plate appearances. So we're at that point where it's a pretty healthy sample size against lefties, and this is overall, so including their home and away stats. 24th in OPS. ISO, they are 23rd. They get you get Wade Miley on the hill. Is Wade Miley an elite left-handed pitcher? No, but is he very serviceable? Absolutely. And if you can put some runs up, so like Prop Beaver, you're on over 3.5. If you can put up even 3 against Seabold, I think you're in a position where you have the lead after the first 5. I like the Brewers bullpen relative to the Rockies bullpen in the latter half of that game. So I think I think the Brewers get the job done. I don't know if I'll get to the window on that, but I think you're asking me for a lean for sure. I'm like, if you want, it's something to include in a parlay, Brewers money line. If you want to, like, if you're looking for some fun money action later in the day, I think Brewers for sure.
Yeah, with Wade Miley, I was loving betting him 2 seasons ago with Cincinnati. And then, wait, was last year the one where he got hurt? That was last season, right? Or was that?
Yeah, last year he only threw 37 innings.
Yeah, so I was loving him 2 seasons ago, and then last year he got hurt, and I don't know how much I trust him. But yeah, I mean, considering the Brewers have just been like blanked at Coors Field in back-to-back games, you would have to think, just from a regression standpoint, they're bound. I mean, they should probably score 13 runs today if you go by that. So I saw someone in the comments said they like Milwaukee too. I think it was Hairston. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, Yeah.
Yeah.
They approve. All right. Mariners at Oakland. I didn't have a play for this one either. Another pass for me.
I wound up getting to the window on Kirby to record a win, plus 105. Drew Ruchinski looked awful in his return to American baseball after spending some years in the Korean League. He allowed 11 hits and 5 runs to the Reds at home through 5.2 innings of work. I mean, that's truly dreadful. This Reds offense against righties on the road is like 27th in WRC plus. You can't be doing that. So while the Mariners bats may be slumping lately, I mean, is there a better chance than to wake up against this guy? Kirby's been dealing out of his mind over his last 4 starts, and going back to 2022 has always shown out in day starts. The A's bats are very inconsistent. They get hot for 3 games, and they cool off for 9. They've looked pretty dead the last 2 games, and I ultimately think that Kirby pitches 6 or 7 innings of 1 to 2 run baseball here. As long as the Mariners give him something, then I think the A's have no chance of tying it up with their horrendous-ass bullpen. The A's are 0-9 as underdogs of plus 200 or more going back to 2022. So once I saw that they got over plus 200, that's when I decided to lock in Kirby to record a win.
Yeah, I mean, we put it on the ticket, so I co-signed it. I would like it a lot better if Oakland stole one of the first 2 games. And I know, like, theoretically that shouldn't matter, but it does for me. Like, facing the sweep, whether statistically that has meaning or not, like, it has meaning in my head. But I'm down to tell you on it. I'm a little hesitant. Bish?
I mean, the A's have 6 wins this season in 31 games. So, like minus 200. What's the implied odds on that? You got to win at least a third of your games as a minus 200 underdog for that to be a fairly priced line, and they're winning less than 20% of their games right now. Yeah, I mean, Ruchinski, he was very, very solid over in the KBO. So I think I'm in a little bit more of a wait and see mode from like an analytical perspective on him. Like in the KBO, in 2022, he had a 2.97 ERA, 2.88 FIP. He was around those numbers every year that he was over there from 2019 onward. But he's never had success in the big leagues. ERA for his career over 5. He was absolutely lit up in his first start back, like you said. In the minors this year, 9 2/3 innings, 6.52 ERA, 4.22 FIP. So it's not like he's not somebody that you want to trust with your money whatsoever. I think I got to get to the point where like just fading the A's as a systems play every single day. I think I have a little bit of resentment towards them because last year I had them at like plus 1,400 to have the worst record in baseball, and they missed by 1 game or 2 games because the Nationals beat them out after they traded Soto. So I have a little bit of resentment for them, against them, full disclosure, but they're just such a bad team. They're not trying to win. The total for runs in this game is set at what, 8.5, something like that. It's at show up, and it's just evident that ownership is trying to drive you to a different city. Fans don't care. You hear every little comment that's coming from the fans behind home plate or down the lines and stuff like that. Like, it's the A's just like, they're not a competitive Major League Baseball team. If somebody wants to bet the Mariners, there's no chance I'll talk them off it.
Yeah. Would you lay the 1.5, or actually to get down to even money, you got to lay 2.5?
Jesus.
It's actually a rule of thumb for me that if I see a playable 2.5, I'll actually take the underdog pretty much every single time, just because it's tough to win a Major League Baseball
by
game
3 runs. Exactly.
Yeah, agreed.
You can get
every time Gasman is a big favorite at home, take the 2.5 with the other team. I swear to God, the hit rate on that shit, unholy. The Jays give him no run support as a big favorite.
Well, they're about to tonight because I have Toronto.
They better tonight. Well, the problem is they don't have like a random like Easton McGee ass dude on the mound against them today. It's Brian Bello. We all know Brian Bello.
Yeah. I just really don't like this game. I have like 0 interest in it. I have 6 TVs in my living room. I can almost guarantee this doesn't make one.
That's saying something because there's only 10 games on the slate, and this is a staggered start time today. There's only going to be 5 or 6 games going on.
I'll be watching, I don't know, replays of the first round of the Wells Fargo PGA tournament.
Like the visual art, like the moving art.
Yeah.
On the one TV.
A photography
Something
montage.
Anything but that.
So we got Braves at Marlins next, and I mean, just to put something up on the screen, I'm probably going to bet the Braves, but it's like, trust me, I'm not going to try to convince you to do it. Everyone's taking the Marlins here, and the line still dropped down a little bit. It was, hold on, I have it up right here. So This morning, Miami was minus 115 favorite. Action in on Miami. Even more action came in on Miami, and it dropped to minus 110. But forget all that. Very simple. Getting a much better baseball team at even money. I know Luzardo's pitching, but the Braves have always been pretty solid against lefties. It's huge starting and pitching advantage in favor of the Marlins. I acknowledge that. Just getting a much better team at an even price. That's all.
Yeah, so I just want to address the graphic. It is not Colin McHugh. It is going to be Dylan Dodd pitching today.
Yeah, it's Dylan Dodd.
Last night it was set at Colin McHugh, and that's where we rendered it. So
yeah, we make the graphics the night before, so sometimes there's pitching changes and.
Yeah, so Dylan Dodd's on the mound for them. This is ultimately a pass for me. I'm just having a hard time reading this game. Dylan Dodd, I have no clue how to read the guy. His first start ever, he goes into St. Louis, allows 1 run. I mean, hell of a feat for a left-handed pitcher. His next start, he goes and faces the Padres and gets rocked into a different century. So, I mean, I have no clue how the guy's going to do today. And then on the other side, Luzardo, to start the year, was a guy I trusted heavily. And now all of a sudden, it's like, do I trust him? I don't know. Ultimately, this is going to be a pass for me. I would look at Luzardo case, but he continues to keep going under that 6.5. So probably just an ultimate pass for me.
Kamish, what are your thoughts on Dylan Dodd? You have any?
No, because the first start, like you said, he was dominant, but he put a lot of pressure on himself, had a first pitch strike percentage of less than 60%, which typically makes it really hard as a pitcher to get back in the count. You have to throw pitches over the middle of the plate. And his second start did a great job working ahead in count, 70% first pitch strike rate, and got absolutely lit up. So like those 2 starts, they don't reveal anything to me. I think the guy's got decent stuff long term, but there's no, like, I'm a very analytically driven person, and there's nothing that I can find in his data to where I'm like, yes, like Dylan Dodd, or absolutely not. Don't, like, not Dylan Dodd. I think, like, one thing to know with the Marlins is they've been relatively competitive against left-handed pitching this year. They're 8th in OPS so far. They don't have a lot of power potential, though. I think that's the one thing that maybe, like OPS, I feel like is a much more familiar statistic to the general public than ISO is. And their ISO is 22nd against left-handed pitching. So, I mean, it's not a slam dunk spot for the Marlins offense in this spot. And then, like you said, Sauce, the Braves are 2nd in OPS, 2nd in ISO against left-handed pitching. So even though Luzardo's the more talented pitcher here, the offensive numbers here sort of offset that. In my mind, I think the full game on the Braves is a little dicey because McHugh is definitely unavailable after throwing 41 yesterday, 22 on Monday. Yates is throwing back-to-back days. He's coming off a couple seasons with injury, so he's not going to pitch. Jimenez has thrown 2 of the last 3. Chavez, 2 of the last 3. Dylan Lee, 2 of the last 3. Minter, 2 of the last 3. So I don't know how.
I did see that.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how seriously Atlanta's gonna try to win this baseball game. Like, obviously, you try to win every baseball game you go out there, but like if you're down 2 runs in the 6th, are you gonna start going to some of your higher leverage arms, or do you move on and try to win 2 of the next 3 or 3 of the next 5, which is how baseball managers think. So I think it's not totally irresponsible to bet the Marlins here, but the Braves are a much better team, and I think getting them at even money makes a lot of sense. For me, I'm taking the under 2.5 in the first 3 here. I know both teams are relatively good against left-handed pitching, but it's a day game. We've talked about there's just weird stuff that happens in day games. You get the 4:00 start. The stadium looks a little bit different. I know they're probably gonna have the roof closed today, but it's a different feel showing up for a game at 4:00 than it is at 7. I think I could see a little bit of a slow start. And Luzardo's been dominant the first time through the order. Like he's one of those guys. Just every time he takes a mound, it's the first 3 under. Been very profitable. So that's the main spot I'm looking at here. I can't really tell you one way or the other on the side. I think there's some compelling arguments both ways.
Yeah, I like that. Prop Beaver, weren't we talking about yesterday, like the Braves' first fine run line is cashed like 6 in a row?
Yeah, well, what I meant to, we were talking yesterday, and I said to Kyle, I'm like, maybe the first 5 run line for the Braves just has to be a system play at this point, because they don't stop covering that goddamn thing. I mean, I think in their 21 wins, they're 18-3 to the first 5 run line. So, like, if you think the Braves are going to win, just take the first 5 run line is essentially my right thought process. And, like, if you do
that would probably apply more to games where they're heavily favored, though, rather than this game where they're actually underdogs.
Yeah, I mean, I would take a first 5 money line if I don't have to lay it.
Right.
I'll take the push.
Yeah. Well, I mean, against Luzardo, you're probably getting it at it. You know what? Why are we speculating? Let's just check. I would imagine you're getting it at plus money, though, because that's
Oh, hell yeah. It's probably plus like 120.
Oh, no, it's plus 100.
No, you're looking at the first half money line, bro. I can see your screen.
Yeah, that's what you said. First 5 money line.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the run line.
Right, you just switched. Never mind.
I get confused easy. On to the next game.
All right, yeah, let's move on to the last game.
We're talking Jays.
I'm on Toronto minus 1.5. You heard it on YouTube. I'm not going to. I don't love it. It's just it was my initial thought. Toronto minus 1.5, and I don't want to overthink I don't want to think myself off of it. Toronto facing a 4-game sweep with Gausman on the mound. Yada yada yada. Is anyone Prop Beaver with me on this?
No, I'm on the first 5 minus a half run, minus 120. I don't like the idea of laying 1.5 to a Boston lineup that just continues to rack up runs in the later innings of games. I have no interest in doing so. The Blue Jays, although 0-3 in the series, if you took the first 5 run line, you'd be 2-1 right now. So I think they have another spot where they could cover a first 5 run line here, because while I do like Brian Bello quite a bit, we backed him in his last start and he did well for us. I mean, the guy is lit up in his first 2 starts. And the only one he really performed all that well in was against the dead as dirt Cleveland lineup. So I believe he's still very raw. I believe he's a bit exploitable. And the Jays bats have some great history against this guy. And going back to last year, they saw him 3 times, 45 at bats. They own a 1.033 OPS and a 4.44 batting average against him. I think with a sweep on the line, the offense needs to show up early here, and I think we see some urgency. Gausman has pitched incredibly against Boston going back to last season, and what I really want to isolate is the first 3 starts he saw them. Obviously, when you're seeing a guy for the 4th, 5th, maybe 6th time for the year, it's going to be a little bit easier to hit the guy, but through his first 3 starts against Boston last year, he was pitched 3 straight shutouts. So I think that he's in a spot right here where he's on the road against lefties. It hasn't been his spot particularly this year, but last year he was dominant in this spot. And I think that he's going to provide a very good start here. I think the Jays will be up about, 4-2 heading into the first 5. And yeah, that's my pick. I like it.
Cool. Mish?
Yeah, Blue Jays minus 1.5.
Oh, nice.
Baby. Baby.
I'm a huge Gausman fan. I like Bayo long term, but he's a young guy. He's figuring things out. Just don't overthink it, right? There's a lot of data that we can point to, but yeah, Gausman's a better pitcher. The Blue Jays need a win. You talked about the latter innings, but Romano's thrown 3 pitches in the last 4 days. Anthony Bass has thrown 7 pitches in the last 3 days. No one's thrown back-to-back days. The Blue Jays are ready for a fight in the late innings if they need one. And then you go look at the Boston pen. There's a lot of usage here. Not a ton the last 2 days, but across the last week, there's been a lot of usage. I think this is just one of those things where it's like you watch enough baseball, and like you said, Kyle, like you get a feel, and you don't want to overthink it, overcomplicate things. Like it's just one of those things where it's like I've seen this time and time again. The Blue Jays win this game, and they probably win it comfortably.
Yeah, agreed. Couldn't agree more. So we're going to do the community parlay before we get out of here. And someone had asked before about 10 minutes ago, and I know this is more up your guys' alley than mine, for our favorite strikeout props today. So I really don't look at those like you guys do, so I was wondering if you guys had any.
No, I know. I feel it's a little bit of a tough slate for strikeouts. I mean, I know Kamish has been killing it with the strikeout props this year. I've been seeing his hit rate right now is on one. Do you have one, Kamish?
I haven't gone through and capped K props yet today. I don't think it's the best slate for K props, but if you give me one
That's
second,
what I thought.
Well, I mean the day games always throw some shit off, and not to mention.
Well, one thing I will say is
day game. It's also like travel day for a lot of teams. There's just like a lot like Verlander. We haven't seen it in the big leagues. Like I'm never gonna bet a K prop on Flaherty unless it's an under, but I'm not betting an under today because the Angels have so many righties in the lineup. Giolito, I'll never bet a K prop on. Oakland is just like deceptively a high contact team in spurts, like you said. So I tend to not really look at opposing pitchers there. Gausman, I like, but like I will never bet a K prop against a very high K or a very high contact team. So like Boston, I'll never even look at the opposing pitcher. It could be Cole at 5.5, and I just honestly won't even look at it because it's a principle thing for me. Like, there's 15 games on a slate on a day-to-day basis. You have to have certain heuristics, like shortcuts to, okay, like this is what I'm going to zero in on today. Like I don't have 16 hours to research stuff. So that's one of the things for me. I think I would stay away from Grayson Rodriguez because we talked about with the umpire, it's a pretty K-averse umpire. I mean, he's not going to get a lot of extra calls. Maybe Eflin if you get a playable line against Pittsburgh over 4.5.
Yeah, don't
Tyone. It's run a lot on Tyone. I didn't get to see it this morning. I had some other work stuff to do, but like the under on Tyone at 4.5. I think if you need a parlay piece, I think you should definitely get there. I think the under 4, like Tyone, I think would be my favorite piece under 4.5, but like it opened at like -120, and now I'm looking at -178 on Caesars. I guess -150 on DK is still playable, but that would under 4.5 on Tyone, I think would probably be.
Yeah,
So under 4.5 on Tyone would probably be your favorite.
Be the better one.
But like you said, he still has to look at it. So
yeah,
make sure you follow him on Twitter. He'll show you his stuff. So
the Erod one intrigues me a bit, just because of the fact that we're seeing the Mets strike out a lot more lately. We also saw Fried recently with 7 against them, Gore recently with 10 against them, Kershaw with 9 against them. So at 4.5 for something that he's hit in 4 or 6 games thus far isn't bad. I would need to look at that way more before I consider playing it, but I think that's at least the best lean that I got in terms of a K prop today. I love K props, but it's not looking like a K prop day today, fellas. I got the earned runs lines today. That's what I'm rocking.
Yeah, if you like strikeout props, I know Prop Beaver's always tweeting out his. You can just follow him on Twitter, and Kamish tweets out a lot of stuff too. And he has. If you go to his Twitter, he has a link where you can get his premium stuff as well. So his Twitter's right there, Kamish Film Room. And I'm sure most of you already follow Prop Beaver, but his Twitter's right under his face. So community parlay, I got 3 legs. Braves money line with the parentheses, trust me. I'm putting it on.
Once you see a cosign like that, I mean.
Beaver, can you pull up the book and tell us what our odds are on that? Yep. If we're plus 400 or greater, I'll cut it off there. If we're less than that, we'll add one more leg.
So we got the Rays.
Braves. Ooh, Mariners run line is in there too.
We got the Mighty Tigers. We got the Blue Jays, right? Yep, Blue Jays and the Rays. What is that? No, God damn it. Which one am I missing? The Braves. I forgot the Trust Me play of the day.
Oh, that's going to be huge.
1040. Plus 1040. Man. It's a mastodon of a parlay.
All right, let's do it. Screw it. I was gonna say take the Tigers out because the Mets are due for a win, but like I kind of love that matchup for Eduardo Rodriguez, and it's
the mighty mastodon play of the day.
And hasn't the Tigers bullpen been good recently too?
Tigers bullpen's been rolling, yeah.
All right, so this is the Mastodon Community Parlay. This is by far the biggest one we've ever placed. Thanks everyone for watching. We won't be back this afternoon, actually. So the next live show will be tomorrow at 4 p.m. for the big one. Friday show is always fun. 15 games. We talk a lot of shit. So yeah, tomorrow 4 p.m. And then, as always, tonight late, I'll be uploading NBA stuff, MLB stuff, like always. So thank you for watching. Kamish, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Kamish. And
appreciate you guys having me back. Yeah, always fun.
Yeah, so hopefully next week, Wednesday, Thursday, let us know what day works for you, and we'll get you back. And everyone, have a lovely day.
Sounds good. Best of luck, guys.
Best of luck.